Hey, everybody, welcome to What Drives Us, episode 490 for March 15th, 2023. My name is Russell Frost. I have the good fortune to be your host this week, and look at the amazing panel I've assembled. It's three men and a baby. Wait, wasn't that a movie?
Is that a movie?
Are we going to get sued? Oh,
No, because it's literal.
Well, nonetheless, we are three men and a baby. Let's introduce them and we can get this show on the road. Speaking of the man with the baby, he is our friend, Mr. Supercharger Casey Green.
What's going on? Say hello, Moto. Say hi.
Motico. Hi.
Yeah, we're just
Man,
it doesn't
really getting a cold shoulder.
Yeah, like every other woman that's ever really dealt with me. Well, thank you so much. And let's see, down at the bottom, but only because that's the randomness of the Melon app. He is the founder and host of the Tesla Life Show, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ides of March. And if you see anybody on the street with a knife, stay away from them.
So,
especially if the name Brutus.
Yeah. And I am well away from Russell. I am a continent away, so no problem.
Everybody's well away from me. I am kind of stabby. I get that, actually. Well, let's get this show on the road. We have a few stories, and one of them, we'll see. I won't make any predictions, but Mark has an interesting story about our favorite electric car maker, Volkswagen.
Yes, indeed. The forced into electrified Volkswagen. Yes, because of course they went into it kicking and screaming because of course they were caught red-handed with some black boxes, as we well know. But yeah, VW has pushed forward with electrification. They had a president of Herbert Diaz who embraced electrification, tried to pull the company in, and for his efforts, he was fired.
He was fired.
And is no longer with the company. So there's questionable tactics going on for VW going electric. But on Tuesday, the company said that it plans to invest over 180 billion euros, $193 billion, into the most attractive profit pools, which they said 68% of that is going into electrification, up from the 56% figure that they had outlined in a previous 5-year plan. The company plans to invest in a battery production and software development, as well as growing its presence in North America. And this came to my attention because the battery production they're speaking about was a deal that they signed with the province of Ontario, the city of St. Thomas, Ontario, which will be getting a large VW battery plant that they're planning on boosting production in North America, most likely because of the IRA requiring European automakers to have a certain percentage of the vehicle and the battery produced in North America in order to qualify for the $7,500 federal credit, tax credit. So again, welcome. Thank you to the IRA for pushing business over to North America. Volkswagen expects, get this, they expect that every fifth, excuse me, frog in my throat.
Ouch.
They expect every fifth vehicle sold worldwide to be an electric one by the year 2025. Just for a reminder, that's 2 years from today.
Yeah.
So they are really indicating that 20% of vehicle sales will be electric across the board as of 2025. So they have to start moving because, of course, in the year 2022, Volkswagen had a 7% electrification sale across all their total deliveries. And we've seen that they've started to introduce, more of the ID versions. The ID Buzz is now out in Europe. It's coming to North America shortly. We've had the ID 3, the ID 4, the ID 5. All of these have come out already. And also, of course, they're coming out with larger SUVs. The 7 and 8 are labeled that they're coming out with. And then on top of that, the ID2, which came out first, little hatchback sporty type EV,
two-door,
was only introduced in Europe, didn't come to North America. They're reworking it. They're reworking the software, they're reworking the car itself, and they're going to reintroduce it because it didn't go as well for them, because that was their first ID version that went out to the public. They had all sorts of software issues. We heard about the thousands of them sitting in lots and people going out with USB sticks and updating them because they didn't have over-the-air update working at that time. So they're going to reintroduce the ID2. But again, VW is trying to push electrification. They're saying in this release, in their 5-year plan, they know that it's taking over, and they know that they're behind the 8 ball. And in order to catch up with those numbers that they feel the world is going to be in, they know they have to be there. They've got some ground to catch up, and hopefully they're able to catch up with that ground and get vehicles, because we all deserve more selection in the EV market, and we all deserve vehicles that are priced accordingly as time goes along. Hopefully we can get some cheaper versions of EVs that are available for all of us to go electric, not just more expensive upscale SUVs. So here's hoping that they can actually perform this task. I'm not holding my breath because I've seen them trip and fall a couple times, as we've seen other manufacturers, but at least they're talking the right game. Now we're going to be able to see, can they walk the talk?
Aren't people always telling us how the legacies can do this in like 6 months if they wanted to and put their minds to it, because they've got experience?
Used to be a very easy thing to say, well, they know how to make cars anyway, so all you have to do is swap out the powertrain, put batteries in place, and you've got yourself a car. So there should be no problem in catching up to the likes of Tesla, because it's that easy. Well, it's not that easy, because there's a whole range of issues that come with it. The software, the supply chain, which of course has been in craziness for the past 2 years. And you've got a whole number of different areas that you have to be good in, and it's different than the current auto market that all these legacy groups are so used to operating in. They've now been thrown into a new pond where there's new ways of operating that they're not used to, and they're struggling just like startups, because they're so used to what they used to do, and now there's so many new things that have been thrown at them, they can't incorporate them all at the same time in order to make an electrified product in mass.
And you also add in that these customers tend to be a little more savvy. They want a little more out of their car than what they've been getting the last 100 years. Not all, because some do want knobs and switches and dials instead of digital graphs and stuff, but the majority want the keyless start and all this stuff that they've been able to not do, because make it into a big box, make it heavy, make it expensive without actually costing yourself anything. Now they have to make it heavy and expensive, and they have to invest in that.
Exactly. So it's a tall bill. VW has stumbled already. They know the problems that exist in the current supply chain. They're going to have to adjust, and the question is, can they adjust quick enough? Because many other legacy automakers are experiencing the same thing. But VW, they did come out with a lot of electrified versions. I'll give them that. They started up to the line. They said, we're going to introduce this many vehicles. We're going to have it across all segments. They've stumbled. Let's see if they can pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and continue that road.
We'll see.
There you go. Well, thank you very much for that, Mark. I was excited to see the pictures of the ID2 this morning. I thought, which is basically just the updated e-Golf, right?
Yeah.
It's a little 2-door hatch, but I love it.
Refreshed.
I love the idea. And I'm sorry, Casey?
mid-cycle refresh, not even a facelift.
Yeah.
People were
And
complaining
I
that
was
it's not
disappointed
changed
they
enough.
didn't call it the Electric Rabbit.
Yes.
that name's been taken, sir, by a very, very different product.
Yes, indeed.
And I'm going to leave it at that.
Don't touch that.
Let's not. I mean, not on camera, at least.
I mean, if it's not yours, don't touch it.
I look forward to seeing what they do.
Well, Russell, what do you think? You've watched this sector for an awful long time. You've watched how VW has stumbled on their first forte into it. They certainly haven't quit, but what's your thought? Can they recover? Can they move forward?
I think that your opinion comes from a very specific place, and I get it. And I don't know that your opinion is entirely incorrect. I think it perhaps overemphasizes some things and underemphasizes some other things. Was that vague enough?
Yeah, you've covered all the bases.
No, so I mean, listen. Let me speak more like Russell, then, if I may refer to myself briefly in the third person. You guys are both Tesla fans. You're both Tesla owners, and I get it. But I don't think that Tesla owns the world, and I do think that the legacy companies, as it were, and honestly, at what point does Tesla become a legacy company? Do they have to be here 100 years, 10, 20, 30? I just like, at what point can we, and I get that it's nice to have a handle to like hang everybody else but Tesla, but honestly, it's more of a mixed bag than it ever has been. And it's certainly, every company is moving, well, with the exception of maybe Toyota, moving towards more fully electric vehicles, not electrified vehicles. I mean, yeah, you know what? Hey, Toyota or Volkswagen face planted. Okay, it happens. It happens throughout the industry. Yeah, I do think they'll bounce back. I do think that they are an experienced mass manufacturer. And I think once they get these problems solved, they will be a force to contend with. I'm not a big Volkswagen fan, but the idea that they are going to hopefully sell the ID2 here in the United States is encouraging to me. I want to see more lower end, smaller, inexpensive, relatively speaking, inexpensive electric vehicle options than we currently have. That is the real dearth of the market right now. Is I don't need any more luxury premium, quote unquote, anything over 50 grand. The market is chock full of options at that level. I want to see stuff 35,000 and under, and that's going to be tougher and tougher because as car prices go up, and we'll talk a little bit about this towards the end of the show, you know, that sector of the market's just being erased.
Yeah.
Casey, no final thoughts from you?
My story is kind of on the same line.
Okay. Uh-oh. He froze for a second.
I'm here.
No,
okay. It might be my computer. Excuse me. Well, let's go on to our next story. Mr. Casey Green, speaking of electrification, has a story about, you know, a company that is oddly, though I really don't like them, is oddly kind of close to my heart as well. I can't really.
How do you not like them, but are they close to your heart?
So I love the iMev. I thought the iMev was wonderful. It was a tiny little rat trap, but it was fun to drive and it was dirt cheap.
It was.
And the doors were made of cardboard.
And at best, they were made of cardboard. Mostly they were made of dreams, which as when it comes to a side impact, the dream is not super protective.
No, that's a nightmare.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you, JT. I appreciate that. It's even the plug-in. Oh God, is it going to kill Outlander? What's the
Outlander PHEV?
The Outlander plug-in wasn't a bad car. The Outlander's a horrible moving pile of poop that smells like manure. I can't figure out why. There's something in Mitsubishi plastics that outgas this manure smell. I drove a bunch of them and I can't figure it out.
Is that like the Volvos that make the fishy smell so that you want to air out that plasticizer smell?
Oh, that's because there's a corpse in the trunk of every one of them.
Oh, well,
You didn't know that? That's there's a
The fish
corpse that
corpse?
comes with every Volvo that you buy. No, I'm just kidding. No, the corpse cost extra because everything costs extra with the new Volvo. I love the idea of the iMeave. That's what I really loved. Wasn't that I felt safe in it, or that it was an amazing amount of it wasn't a technological breakthrough, but it was a inexpensive get around town, commute to work electric vehicle. And wow, we still don't have one of those. 15 grand, anybody?
Nope.
No, didn't think so. I'm sorry, Casey. I unintentionally hijacked your story ranting about Mitsubishi, but I'll blame Mark. He asked me.
So speaking of Mitsubishi, and you know, limited time to make a transition to EVs. So Mitsubishi wants to transition their fleet to EVs by 2035, which coincidentally, before Germany got their knickers in a twist, was the was the drop dead date for most of the world to stop selling gas cars, including California and the California emission states that opted into their electrification plan. And again, most other countries in the world were 2030, 2035, and 2040. Norway was in there, and they moved up to 2025. And Saudi Arabia even sees the writing on the wall, and they want their cars to be electrified by 2060, 2065. A little late, but they are, you know, OPEC. So, just like Volkswagen, you know, is it too little, too late? Mitsubishi is coming from a different part of the market, as Russell pointed out, that you know, they weren't known to be expensive vehicles, and you know, they were the fourth largest, fifth largest Japanese automaker, because you got Toyota, Honda, Mazda, Mitsubishi, and all of them were dragging feet at going electric. They all had done some electric, so we knew they knew how to do it. And so Mitsubishi has shown us that they want to stay in business past 2035, regardless of what Germany does. Because even if they do roll that back or defang it, consumers, once they get a chance to try EVs, they're not going to want the legacy technology, modern electrics.
So do you think like the 2035 date kind of concerns me, that they pushed it out that far? I think even with VW saying that, you know,
next year,
VW
2 years,
even saying that in 2 years, the entire market's going to be 20% of the entire market. So
yeah.
Once it goes 20%, man, it's going to jump to, you know, 90, 80% pretty quickly. Don't think that's going to take 10 more years.
No, it won't. And Mitsubishi has a leg up on this, because they didn't actually say all electric. They're going for plug-in hybrids and hybrids as well. So basically, if they were in China, they would call them new energy vehicles and be okay. But basically, nothing that's straight gas anymore. And then the rest of them are going to be plug-in electrics of some flavor.
Mark, are you actually trying to insinuate that a second-tier automaker is trying really hard to become a third-tier automaker? I'm just curious. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that everyone should strive to do better, is what I'm saying.
And what has Mitsubishi done better in the last, let's say, 5 years?
Well, I have to say that 5 years, tough number. 10 years.
10 years. Fair enough.
10 years. The Outlander was a jump forward. It certainly was. At its time, they
also wasn't it in 2012?
They didn't progress with it, though. That's the problem. They didn't push the needle further. They sat on their laurels and didn't make the vehicle any better over iterations. And they didn't come up with an all-electric vehicle that could have been released 5 years later. It's disappointing. maybe they believed that hydrogen was going to be the savior, and they just stayed behind. But man, they should have done something, and apparently they didn't. They just kind of sat there.
So I just did this quick search because I was thinking it was 2012. I was close. It came out as a 2013 model, the Outlander plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. So 10 years now.
10 years.
10 years.
10 years. Yeah.
We're going to do it by another 10 years. We promise you. We're going to be 50% plug-ins.
And the plug-in, it was a big deal.
It was at the time.
Small big deal in 2013. And yeah, they totally just
a 20-mile
snoozed.
20-mile plug-in electric with gas backup in 2013 as an SUV. Like, you had the Leaf and the Volt back then, and then of course a Roadster, and the Model S is just barely coming out.
Or even with the much love from Russell and JT, iMave.
Yeah, the iMave.
Why did they not progress with that? Why wasn't there progression from 2011 and make another model? Make one with more range. Make one with the option of not just cardboard doors, but maybe some steel. There should have been something, but again, nothing happened.
They could have done a small American car rather than a K car that managed to pass all the minimum requirements, and still been dirt cheap, and they would have been selling, and then like they wouldn't have had the same problem as the Leaf with the
like, I gotta believe
batteries.
that over 5 years they could have gotten some extra technology that could have made the car a little bit larger, a little bit more usable, a little bit more
Japan,
range.
like good luck finding a chip manufacturer in Japan. It's really easy.
I want to push back against the idea. I don't think the iMave's failure was about size. Granted, it had very little storage room. You know what I mean? Like more than 4 bags of groceries, and you were putting stuff in the back seat. But again, Americans don't want to buy small cars right now. But to answer your question, Mark, the two things that held Mitsubishi back when they had the iMave, right when the Leaf came, I mean, this is back in the early days. We're talking like 2010, 2011. Number one, the dealers. Mitsubishi dealers are probably the worst dealers on the planet. They're all just, I hate to paint everyone with a broad brush. Forgive me, anyone in the audience, if you have a friend that works at or owns a Mitsubishi dealership, but most of them are just bags of crap. And they're the worst kind of clickbaity marketing. So the idea that like they wanted to sell a 15K electric car, hell no, they didn't. They wanted to sell another Outlander Sport, or they wanted to sell a Mirage or something else. That was easy. Second thing, corporate culture. There has to be somebody in the inside that says, hey, this is important. We need to do this, as we've seen at Toyota. And there's nobody on the inside of Toyota that's really pushing them. They're oozing stuff out slowly but surely. And it's not very exciting, but that's my theory, Mark.
Yep.
And that
can't argue with it.
And the dealership situation, that's been a problem of theirs for decades now. Like they used to be called, they used to have basically slurs about their tri-point logo, and one of them was bad credit.
Yes, exactly. And JT in the chat said wonders if their alliance with Nissan helped them back. I don't know. Maybe that's a fair point.
It could be.
It probably didn't help them. Yeah, it probably didn't help them. Well, we'd certainly love to see somebody else come out with whatever, more non-premium $50,000 and over electric SUVs. Yay! Less of that other stuff, more of something else.
It doesn't need to be an SUV, but probably, we could use a car too in the budget range.
Hey, and a little hatchback can carry a lot of stuff. Let's not ignore that. Well, Casey, anything else on that one, my friend? No?
Done.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's go to the last one. I really hate conspiracy theories.
You're all over the board, right?
Yeah. No,
I love them, but I hate them.
That was me just trying for a laugh. I very much hate conspiracy theories. We have talked for years and years on this show about constrained supply. and who benefits and whether it takes place or whether it just happens or whether it's COVID or supply chain issues or who knows what. Manufacturers and dealers always have lots of excuses, and it's probably foolish to think that most of them are entirely forthcoming and accurate. There was an interesting article at freightwaves.com that I read that sort of fits with something that I've been rolling around in my rather empty brain for a few years now, which is, why make $1 million of something that you make 10% on when you could make 300,000 of something and you could make 30 or 40%? Like, why would you make $1 million of them? That just seems like a lot of work. I mean, even Elon says manufacturing is tough. Like it's not easy to make a whole shitload of things unless it's just one piece injection molded, maybe. And then, so what we're seeing in the auto industry is interesting. It's sort of a new, I don't want to say it's a new paradigm, but it feels like we're quietly being shifted over to the days when car dealers' lots that were stuffed full of cars stacked on top of each other and more cars coming in and car carriers out in the lot. What we're seeing now is that from COVID and all of that whole shortage of cars, car companies have certainly clued into the idea that if they make less, they can make more on what they sell. Car dealers have enjoyed that. They've made, I'm sorry?
And not having to discount and haggle, like, hey, you want it or get out.
Right. Well, car dealers have certainly enjoyed that. I've had more than a few conversations with local dealers who have just loved the last few years because they sell everything that comes on the lot. They sell it at full price or with an additional markup. Who would want to change that and go back to the old way where the lot's stuffed full of things and you're selling everything at an employee discount?
Yeah.
And I think
that's some markup is sometimes double the price of the car, depending on who your store is.
Or at least, when you're talking about, let's say, a $40,000 car, if they've added a $10,000 market adjustment, I mean, that's probably 5 times the profit they would have made on that vehicle.
Yeah.
Plus, they're still getting the profit that the manufacturer built into the car.
So I'm wondering if we're seeing a shift. If we're going to see manufacturers cluing into this, constrained supply means better margins.
No.
Uh-oh. And Mark says, no. Tell me why I'm wrong, Mark Coughlin.
Greed. You will never get the manufacturers as a whole to agree to limit themselves because they think they're missing part of the pie that they could have otherwise. So they will outperform, and the manufacturer down the road will outperform over time. And they will continue to put out more and more. And then all of a sudden you're at a point like you're at a Dodge dealer and every day's a sale and you have to push vehicles out at a loss. So I understand that may be the case in the short term when there is a parts supply problem or issue. But once they get firing as regular, I don't think that they could limit themselves to do something smart like that.
Assuming that the folks in Florida and Mississippi and wherever the hell else came up with these anti Tesla, Polestar, Rivian, as well as anti Ford and GM being able to run their business the way they choose to see fit. Assuming none of those people succeed, are we not seeing the end of dealerships, the beginning of the end? Because if I know that the car is supposed to cost 20 and you're only going to sell it to me for 49.
Again, I don't think that's going to happen either. I think that the dealerships are around until the manufacturer that heads them disappears. I really don't think that they're going to be able to get rid of them. There's too much money built up in dealerships and too much employment and all sorts. We see from the lobbyists. They have a lot of money, obviously, to push their agendas through in multiple states. So I don't see that happening either. I think the dealerships are going to be with us for a while until it's not financially viable anymore.
Right, but the dealerships don't control manufacturing.
No,
quite the other way around.
Yeah.
So if Dodge says, hey, I know we used to send you 500 cars a month. Now we're going to send you 150. The dealerships don't really have any.
Do they
That's it.
have isn't there something written in their contracts about how much is going to be
Some of
sent
them.
their way? Isn't there something like if a manufacturer was going to say, I know we used to give you 1,000 a month, but you know what? We're going to go down to 300.
Well, if they do it to everybody, if they do it to one dealership, they could have,
Right.
do it to everybody.
If it's a supply issue, a supply chain thing, a manufacturing thing.
Yeah, but
And
if it's like you said, it's they want the profit. Can a manufacturer say we could make 1,000 units go to you and everyone else, but we're not because we want a 30% profit margin on all the cars going forward. So we're only going to send you 300. That's it.
Yeah, but as Russell said, with the greed, they would be more likely to send you. We normally send you 500 cars. Everybody gets 5,000.
I will admit this comes out of the wild ass guess category of my brain, which is I don't know. I don't have the numbers, but I have seen dealer lots empty for the last few years.
Yeah,
and
they have been. Yeah.
still not filling up.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I drove by a Toyota dealer in a medium town when I was on a trip last week. It was empty. There wasn't anything but employee cars in that lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can they survive? Well, here's the other thing. This location is just down the road from an actual Toyota manufacturing plant in Ontario. And they had the least amount of cars in their lot that I've ever seen. I'm going, literally, it's a 2-mile drive to the plant that makes the Corolla. And they got nothing.
Wow. But there might be something to this, though. Like, I was looking for a new washing machine and dryer, and I want one with a heat pump, and there's like 7 in the country, it feels like. Go through the normal channels. Like, yeah, no, we won't even call you when one comes in. You just got to keep calling in until one shows up.
I do think there has been a recognition on the part of manufacturers of all types of products that, and what COVID, one of the lessons that COVID taught them is that COVID's great, constrained supply is great for margins.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily good for numbers, but it's great for margins. And again, manufacturing is tough.
Yeah, but can you really think that they could conspire themselves to limit supply going forward?
No, I don't think I'm not alleging any of that. Although it could happen. I'm just saying I'm not saying
successful.
yeah. The heads of the auto companies are getting together going, okay, this month we're all cutting back by 26%.
Yeah,
what I am saying is that they're all learning the same lesson. They're saying, wow, for the last 2 years, our ship numbers have sucked, but our margins have soared. Our dealerships are still making huge cash. Granted, they had to fire half the people, but they're making more money with half the staff. That's like, when you talk about greed, that is like the business recipe for, oh, sweet perfection.
I can see what you're saying. I just think that once things get more regular, I don't think they can even help themselves. Manufacturing will just kick up and they'll try to get back to old levels.
Especially if they compete with each other. Like, if Mitsubishi says, oh, hi, if we get 100 units out and Ford only gets 50, we're doing better on some metric that the analysts care about in the quarter to quarter. And then it's a downhill race, as you said, Mark. But as Russell's saying, the greed, that might make them flood the dealers. Or if they can find a way to agree with the dealers, like, hey, we need this amount of profit per car, but they make their money regardless. They dump it on the dealer and it's sold.
It's interesting what Bruce in the comments has said. He's saying that it's not just a profit question. There is a motivation of people in their creative side and their passion for the technology. Does that drive it too? It's possible.
It's certainly an influencer. I think the bottom line is always the bottom line. There's very few companies that I think are driven by the creative side per se. You know what I mean? Like, we're doing it because we love it and we feel like it's right. and have that align with profitable. Again, looking at whatever pick Mitsubishi, was shipping. If you can still continue to pay the bills and make money,
Yeah.
you might do it. You might try it.
Especially public companies, because the stock market, man, it only cares about one thing.
Well, which sort of, although we also, the stock market may as well be populated by fairly stupid antelope, because most of the market forces, quote unquote, are pretty dumb, pretty reactionary. And, that's just been my observation. And yes, I intended to insult most of the people in the stock market. Hi there. That's all I got. That is all I got. Let's do some shout outs and go home.
Wow.
All right.
Oh, wait, I am home. Damn it. Well, let's do some shout outs and go have dinner, maybe. Casey Green, what's going on?
Do some shout outs and step outside.
It's raining out there. No.
So on Sundays, I do a show over here at youtube.com at Casey Green. That's KaceyGreen, talking about green life and green living and green cars and whatever else suits our fancy. But we'll chat with you over there at 1:10 Eastern. 1:10 p.m. Eastern.
There you go. Well, do see Casey Green at KaceyGreen on YouTube. Search his name and check him out. And Mark, what's going on in your world, sir?
Yeah, well, if you had some interest in the Tesla life, you can follow us every Wednesday. We do a show. In fact, we just published one. You can search that on YouTube and check it out. But if you're here, why not give us a thumbs up, press that subscribe button, and help us out. It doesn't cost you a dime, and it helps us immensely. Also, through the week, Russell and crew have some social medias you can follow. So pick up the latest news on the What Drives Us Twitter feed and other feeds. Just look up What Drives Us on any social media app, and you'll come up with the ability to subscribe to that and be informed throughout the week between shows. And with that, back to you, Russell.
Thank you very much, Mark. I want to thank everybody in the chat room for hanging out. I appreciate your contributions, and absolutely. So thank you for that. Casey and Mark, thank you for being on the show this week along with me. Hopefully Paul and Georgia will be back very soon, usually next week, but they get time off too. And of course, as always, thank Michael Mannering for his theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. Until next week, when you can tune in and find out what drives us. Thank you very much.